Hey everyone, and good TGIF to you, or happy Friday the 13th if you believe in that kind of superstition. But I thought I'd come here and talk about something. At a lot of the Facebook group pages that all of us that are on Facebook, or any of us that are on Facebook, are a part of, we always notice that people always post fan pictures that you can find at DeviantArt because they link them from the DeviantArt page or from the page that DeviantArt, gives to them when they submit it. But there's always, they always submit some kind of picture that might get a chuckle out of you, or might just be a meme, if you will, of what's going on, or it's sort of a visual representation of something that pretty much could be ridiculous in the eyes of a lot of people. Recently, I don't know which group it was at, but someone had posted a two-panel picture of the Steven Universe character, Steven, being disappointed and saddened at the fact that his fandom is basically the way it is. And you have other characters like Sonic from the Sonic franchise. You have Rainbow Dash from Friendship is Magic. And I think another character comforting him, and Sonic telling him sarcastically, or almost, well, not sarcastically, but kind of in a moot, kind of like, basically telling him, yeah, welcome to the club, kid. Basically acknowledging, hey, you're not the only one that's dealing with this. And you see, that's the one thing that's diverse about the fan base. Several years ago, I did a audio video or something like that, and even a text, I believe. I'm not really sure. I have to check. Well, I talked about with the Sonic fan base that you cannot satisfy everybody, which is pretty much the truth. You could do something that fans want, but it still will not satisfy them. It's kind of like with the wrestling business. You can give them what they want. You could sign, like if you're WWE, you could sign all the top indie talent in the world. So you can have those dream matchups finally that you've been wanting, but it still will not satisfy them. It won't satisfy them, excuse me, it won't satisfy them unless it's the way they want it. I'll give you a prime example. Several years ago, when Daniel Bryan, I'd say about 4 years ago, when Daniel Bryan fought Bray Wyatt in the opening match of the Royal Rumble, everybody was expecting Daniel Bryan to be in the Rumble since that was the first match of the night. Him and Bray Wyatt were the first match of the night. They were expecting, okay, Daniel's going to be in the Rumble. That didn't happen, and fans were disappointed. Fans even booed fan favorite Rey Mysterio because of that. So, what do they do instead? They end up petitioning WWE. They end up taking over every WWE broadcast and pay-per-view and even house show. They basically, I think the word was they hijacked the WWE every time Raw, SmackDown, or a pay-per-view or a live event happened, to the point that WWE, even with this Yes movement, what's the saying? Basically becoming a cross-promotional phenomenon, the WWE had no choice but to acknowledge it and say, okay, fine. We'll put Daniel in the damn main event. We'll give you what you want. And they got what they wanted. They wanted Daniel in the main event. They wanted him to be champion. They got what they wanted. And the same with last year. And the same with, not last year, but yeah, actually 2015. Daniel was in the Royal Rumble again. He came in at number 10. Fans were hoping he was going to win this time and go on to main event and become champion again. When he got eliminated, not even, I'd say, several entries in, fans booed it. and they basically drowned out the entire event. They hated it. Because even though they knew, in a sense, that Roman Reigns was going to win it in 2015, they were hoping WWE would open their eyes and say, hey, do Daniel Bryan again. That'll make the fans happy. Sometimes you don't always get what you want. And sometimes if you're a certain fan base, certain portion of a fan base, you're going to get something that you'll enjoy anyway. If you're a casual fan and you like something, the casual fan will be like, yeah, I'm okay with this person being the focus. I have no problem. Because they know that if that's what, from a business standpoint, that's what's going to sell, or that's what's going to get people's attention in and out of that individual's environment, then so be it. If it's going to get the product recognized in and out of its environment, then so be it. So sometimes you're going to get what you want, and sometimes you're not going to get what you want. That's just a fact of life. When AJ Styles debuted in WWE and went as far as he did in the Rumble, sure, there was a lot of fans that were hoping, hey, maybe he'll win it. Maybe WWE will be smart enough and let him win it. That didn't happen. But yet, WWE has done such a good job with AJ in a sense that not only does it kind of satisfy those hardcore fans that want him to be the top guy or one of the top guys in the business, if not the champion of the WWE, but they've also balanced it out to where even the casual fan could be like, yeah, I can see this guy as being the face of the company. I can see this guy being champion for the WWE. I could see that. Like I said, they can come out and they can say, yeah, I could see that. And, that's an example of, whether you like it or not, of someone finally waking up and realizing you have to have a good balance. You can't be making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. You can't be making the same decisions. You can't be going in the same directions. You got to basically find a balance. And whether you like WWE right now, whether you like them or you don't, whether you feel the ratings are not showing exactly how well the company can be, they are, in certain areas of the product, balancing out what needs to be balanced out. Whether you like it or you don't. You're getting a balancing out. Now, with other fan bases, it's a little harder sometimes because you're trying to give fans what they want, but you're also trying to give the casual fans what they want. But in other cases, you're also trying to satisfy your business partners, your associates, the people that invest in your company or license out their product to your company. WWE, again, I will say this, again, is not innocent in this, all right? Because they do have investors, they do have partners outside of the company, associations outside of the company that they have to keep happy. They got to do things that we as fans and those as hardcore fans, they may not agree with. They may not agree with, but they are going to do it. They are going to do it because of the fact that they want to keep these investors, they want to keep these associates or associations, these partnerships alive and well. So they want to do things that are not going to make them look like hypocrites. But at the same time, they realize, okay, well, we do that, we also got to balance out, also got to give the fans what they want, both hardcore and casual. And again, the same, in a sense, can be said for other products. Steven Universe, which is one of the most popular animated shows out there to date, as far as I know, and from what I understand, is a pretty good show, especially because one of the most popular traits of it is something that's very popular in all of DeviantArt and elsewhere, and that's fusion, that's merging, one or multiple characters into one. or two or multiple characters into one. I could see that as being one of the reasonings. I could also see the storytelling, the story arcs being another reason. Now, here's the thing though. You could give the fans of Steven Universe everything they want in your mind. You can give them certain things. You can give them certain characters. You can give them certain fusions. You can give them certain moments that they have been waiting for. You could try to break barriers very subtly, and yet it won't be enough. It will not be enough to satisfy that fan base. It won't be enough to satisfy that fan base or a certain portion of the fan base. Casual fans, steady fans, and all that, they might be okay. But the fans that take it to the extreme will not be okay. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is another thing. I'm one of those fans, as I've said many times before. I'm a fan out of appreciation and respect for what this show has done. But I'm not the kind of hardcore fan, if you will, that takes it way too seriously. And I think one of the things that makes this show, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, very popular is, you have your hardcore fans, you have your bronies, and they understand the concepts and all that, but they don't take it way too seriously. There are those that do, believe me. And I think the MLP FIM fan base a majority of members know that as well, that there are certain fans in the fan base that take it to an extreme. A real big extreme, if you catch my drift. But anyway, what I'm saying though, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, okay, but I'm just saying there are fans, not just with MLP, but like with Steven Universe and others like Gravity Falls, Sonic Boom, Sonic Sat AM, you name it, Transformers, G.I. Joe, they will take certain things to an extreme so much that no matter how hard, if you're the writers, you're the creators, no matter how hard you try to provide a balance of giving those most extreme hardcore fans what they want, at the same time giving the casual fans what they want, it's still not going to be enough. And MLP FIM does have hardcore extreme fans to the point that you can give them what they want. You could write this kind of story. You can finally showcase something, whether it's in the comics or in the show, and it still won't be enough. There are fans, and there are certain portions of fan bases that want certain shippings, couples to happen. We do. I've said it before. One of the reasons I became a fan out of respect and appreciation is because of this sort of relationship, if you will, if you want to call it this loving, this sort of like connection, this kind of like friendly relationship between Rarity and Spike. Like, it's a friendly relationship that you hope as a fan eventually will become official. Like, you're hoping Hasbro and the creators behind the series will finally say, okay, let's make Spike and Rarity an official couple. Let's make Spike her boyfriend, and let's make Rarity his girlfriend. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. And there are a lot of fans, even to this day, even right now, that still draw pictures of those two getting together and even writing stories of how they can get together. And the same can be said with a lot of the other characters. You have Rainbow Dash and Soren, Twilight Sparkle and Flash Sentry. You name it. Pinkie Pie and whatever that character's, Cheesecake, I guess that's his name. I don't know. The one played by Weird Al. You have all these shippings in MLP that fans want to see happen. In fact, fans even want, and this is even thanks to one of the main writers on the IDW comic book. The main writer, along with a lot of fans, would love to see, a lesbian couple out of this. They would love to see, according to the writer, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy come together. They would love to see the show go even further to breaking barriers and breaking down walls by introducing that element. And as much as fans would like to see that, I think a lot of articles have said it best. There, especially with the fact that with Frozen 2 coming soon, a lot of fans are petitioning to give Elsa a lesbian girlfriend, right? Well, here's the thing. One article that was put out basically has said this at the end. In fact, one of the people they interviewed, a professor, I think, at a university that teaches an art class, which main focus in the art class is learning about how the art of Disney, basically said that Disney, as of right now, something like giving Elsa a lesbian girlfriend is not going to happen. I mean, you could basically, when it comes to, let's say, some of the live action shows, you can kind of subtly throw in a fact that, oh, there's a lesbian couple or a gay couple in it. Good Luck Charlie is a big example according to a lot of people. But it's something that, even though fans of a product, of a show, of a franchise would love to see happen, and even someone that may work behind the scenes in a capacity of a certain adaptation of that product, whether it's comic books or on a show, or on the movie itself, or on the series, on the animated series itself, it's not going to happen unless the higher ups say, okay, make it happen. Make it a reality. Let's see where it goes from here. That's the only way it will happen. Now, like I said earlier, they'll do whatever they can to kind of balance things out to satisfy, if you will, both sides of the fence. For the casual fans, yeah, they'll satisfy that curiosity, okay, what if you were to do it? I mean, there's a moment a lot of people have GIFed, if you will, GIFed, if you will, from the Newbie Dash episode this past Saturday on My Little Pony. Basically, there's a scene where I don't know if it's Rainbow Dash that flies by them or one of the Wonderbolts that flies by them, but basically, you have Fluttershy getting pushed right almost into the lap, or kind of getting pushed to where she leans back almost into the lap of Twilight, and Twilight has this look on her face, like she likes this. And some people already came out and wondered and asked the question if maybe the creators did this as sort of a nod to the Rule 34, or whatever you want to call it. Kind of acknowledge that, yeah, we know what you want to see, but this is probably as far as we're going to be able to go with it. Like I said, it'd be like, they know what you want to see, but this is as far as they're going to be able to go with it. And if that's the case, then that to them is sort of a balancing out of, okay, there are going to be casual fans wondering why other fans want to see something like this. You got other fans that are going to, so basically it's kind of like a balancing out of, oh, this is what the casual fans, we know they're curious about this, so let's do this. And, kind of, I guess, satisfy that curiosity, but also in a sense, you have, but like I said, in a sense, you also have those hardcore fans, those, hardcore Major League Extreme fans that want to see something like this crossover. They want to see that barrier broken. But yet, a company like Hasbro, as great as that might be for them, or as historic as that might be for them, they're not going to break that barrier. Because just like with Disney, majority of the products are still aimed at kids. That's the whole point. You can make a story as complex. You can make a story, as complex as Frozen is, and, make it for the entire family, even though, like I said, a story could be a little over the heads of the kids and everything, of young kids, but yet, if your main demographic, as far as, like, let's say, merchandise-wise and selling characters to, and selling appeal of characters to, it's going to be kids. That's the whole point. And that's what that one article talking about the whole hashtag give Elsa a girlfriend topic was, that a topic or petition or what have you, the hashtag that's been going on for a while has been talking about. Was talking about. It's the fact that they said at the end, Disney overall is still family friendly. Yes, they've had some PG-13 rated material. Don't get me wrong about that with the Pirates of the Caribbean series. And even with the association and purchasing, if you will, of Lucasfilms and Marvel Studios, they also have PG-13 rated products under their banner as well, with the Marvel Studio movies and the Lucasfilm movie of Star Wars The Force Awakens. But the problem is, Hasbro, companies like Hasbro and Disney will not cross that border because their main demographic is selling toys and merchandise to kids. So they won't cross that border just yet. Don't get me wrong, there's a strong chance they're going to cross that border. For Hasbro, when it comes to My Little Pony, they might cross that border a lot sooner as far as the comic book adaptation is concerned. But, with that said, they won't cross it just yet, even though you could have fans, write stories, draw up fan pictures or fan comics or whatever of them finally crossing over to that area and making it happen. You can eat and that's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine. But as far as Hasbro is concerned, DHX is concerned, and all them, if they want to throw in subtle hints here and there and acknowledgement of, hey, you want a certain thing to happen like this or that or whatever, then they'll do it. They'll do it to satisfy that hardcore fan, that true hardcore fan, and if you will, or that true long-time fan, what have you, that would like to see them break that barrier. They'll throw in subtle hints like that little moment brief moment in Newbie Dash this past weekend to kind of satisfy that hardcore loyal fan, but also do it as a balancing for the more casual fan. That might be, okay, why do people want this? I watch the show casually at times, but what's the big deal? Why do fans want this? And everything, and they'll throw in a subtle hint, and that'll make people think. Maybe even make the casual fan think, okay, what was that about? What was that look about? And then they'll look up and they'll probably see that information. They'll probably find out that fans want something like that. But again, just like with Disney, just like a company with Disney, it's not going to happen. It really isn't. No matter how you look at it. It's not going to happen. Now, can other companies can other studios and companies like Illumination and Universal and Sony Animation and Sony Pictures and Warner Brothers and all that, can they probably cross that border? Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, they could cross it. In fact, any product that they have been associated with, whether it's animated movies, series, or what have you, comic books, what have you, they have crossed that border in a sense, or at least strongly hinted at the fact that they're a lot closer than those that I've mentioned. I'll give you an example. I'll give you one example a lot of people used recently because of this whole give Elsa a girlfriend deal. Paranorman. Yeah. Nobody probably indicated. Now, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say that it's a fact. But I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people that when that movie first came out, or when they first saw that movie in some capacity, and nobody spoiled it for them, didn't know that Mitch was gay. Didn't know the Mitch character was gay. And yet we find out at the end that he is. So, with something like that, you say to yourself, whoa, where did that come from, right? How did that get, how did that get approved? I mean, true, from what I understand, I think it drew a lot of criticism because it was thrown in there. But the person that wrote that scene is gay himself. So it's perfectly understandable, maybe, for someone that is gay themselves or lesbian themselves to want to throw that in there and try to break down that barrier. It is. It really is. But you see, again, companies like Illumination, Universal, Warner Brothers and all that, they can get away with it because a majority of the time, a lot of the material they do, especially animated wise, is a little bit more edgy and can be a little bit more controversial. Steven Universe, going back to that, is a very popular show, like I said, one of the most popular shows out there. Storytelling obviously is good. One of the most popular reasons people like it is because of the fusions, the mergings. I mean, if someone would have told you at the beginning of the show that Steven and his friend Connie were going to fuse together and become Stefani, if you will, then I'm sure some people would have believed you, but then again, some people may have not. But the point is, Steven Universe has even come under the criticism too. Okay, here's what I mean. Like I said, Warner Brothers could probably get away with it more than Disney and Hasbro. But Warner Brothers is not out of the woods when it comes to trying to satisfy the fan base. See, this is again the reason fan bases are so split, are so not crazy, but so split, and to the point that, like I said that one time, you can't satisfy anybody. And that reason being is because when you try to cross a certain border, as appreciative as the fans that have been wanting something like that to happen will be, whether it's the casual fans or the most diehard and dedicated of fans, it's always going to be met with some kind of controversy. There was an episode or so in Steven Universe from what I read an article on, and apparently because of the lesbianism that was acknowledged in it, it was banned from television. Now, I don't know if it was banned here in the US, I think it was, but I know in the UK it got a lot of criticism. And some people might be like, well, why is the UK so against it? No more freelance than, they're just as freelance as Japan is, or any other country that's not the US. They should be okay with it. But I think because Steven Universe is supposed to be aimed at a certain demographic, which is kids, TVY7, if you will, if not younger, it got hit with criticism because they wanted to put that in there. And if a show that's produced under the Cartoon Network banner, that is produced and distributed by Warner Brothers, can get criticized for the fact that they try, even in the UK of all places, for the fact that they tried to cross that border, cross that line, and give the fans what they wanted, the most dedicated and diehard fans what they wanted, basically even acknowledging that that Garnet is a fusion of two lesbian lovers themselves. But like I said, but basically take certain episodes like the one I'm talking about and ban it and get hit with controversy about it, shows you that here's the thing, if it's an adult animation, like let's say, if it's an adult animation, like let's say The Simpsons or Family Guy or American Dad, if you will, then that's perfectly fine. Those are meant for adults, for the mature audiences, because of the ratings, because of what they go and do. They're meant for that audience. All right? They are meant for that audience. You know, when a Cartoon Network came out with Adult Swim, and then they came out with Adult Swim, the reason for it was to start showing cartoons more aimed for a mature audience. Okay? Aimed for a more mature audience. Whether they were very controversial or they weren't, they were meant for a mature audience when kids and teens and all that were laid back and in bed. That's why they did it. You know, this is why they also added Toonami to Adult Swim. Because of the fact that it was a block in the afternoon that had some great anime shows and American 80s action adventure shows by Filmation and Rankin Bass, but also was the kind of show, but also showed when it did its anime blocks that it could show a lot of good anime, but because it was during the day, it had to cut out certain things. So when they tested Toonami at nighttime during Adult Swim and was showing the stuff uncut, people liked it. So that's why Toonami, in a sense, became part of the Adult Swim block, because now they could show those anime shows uncut, in a sense, and as they're originally meant to be. And again, it's because of stuff like that that you could probably get away if you're Cartoon Network or Warner Brothers. You can probably get away with that kind of stuff. You know, in a movie that's meant to be in theaters and meant for all audiences, yeah, you could sneak it in there once in a while, or you could subtly sneak it in there once in a while. But still, even if you do sneak it in there, or you subtly sneak it in there, you're not going to be able to get away with it without some kind of controversy. You know, just like with the whole Mitch thing in Paranorman. You know, and then, like I said, this whole thing in Steven Universe with that one episode and stuff. You know, it's like you try to do it for the fans, and you're going to get met with controversy. But here's, again, where the fan base gets so mixed up. The casual fans that will watch the show on occasions, or casually, and get a kick out of it, might buy the series on DVD or Blu-ray when it gets released, what have you, or go see a movie if a movie's made, or go see the movie if a movie's adapted from it, adapted from it, and then probably buy the movie on DVD and Blu-ray. You know, they'll probably be okay with it. They'll be more understanding of, yeah, you know, this stuff really isn't necessarily needed in this kind of a product, if you catch my drift. But then you have the other fans that are like, well, they need to do this. It is too much in the show. There's too much hinting at the fact that this is gonna of this couple being the way they are. This needs to be officially acknowledged, or there's too much clues and hints of this going to be happening, and this has to be done, and that has to be done. It's basically, like I said earlier, it's a fan base to where you cannot satisfy anybody. And when you try to satisfy both in a balancing, if you will, and both are okay with it, you're still going to probably get met with some kind of controversy or criticism. Let me put it to you like this. When Frozen came out, there was a lot of fans, a lot of people that were happy about the movie. They were glad this movie broke down barriers of the fact that it wasn't your traditional Disney princess damsel in distress kind of deal anymore. Okay? It wasn't that. But what drew criticism to it was the implication that there was incense going on in the movie. That Disney was subtly throwing in an incense story arc between both Elsa and Anna. That is what drew the movie criticism. But in the end, with those people that criticized that subtle indication, which was never there to begin with, let's be honest, was never really there to begin with, all they did was draw people more so to the movie, to go see the movie, to see if maybe that's exactly what was being subtly hinted at by Disney, only for those people that got curious to see the movie finally, to maybe see if that was there, to realize, hey, it's not there. I don't know what you're talking about. The point is, when it comes to fan bases, the reason they're so jumbled up is because, like I said, you can't satisfy anybody. You can't satisfy the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fan base, to the point that everybody's happy. You can balance it out, and give them both something that they can enjoy, where the casual fans can be like, I wonder why, they threw that in there, and be, maybe out of curiosity go look it up because they'll hear like maybe the more dedicated fans talking about it. You could do stuff like that. Same with, Steven Universe. Same with the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, the Sonic Boom franchise. You could do all of that. You could throw all of that in there. You could balance things out. But, again, the reason the fan base is never really satisfied in the end, folks, the reason the overall fan base is mixed up the way it is because you can't satisfy them. And when you try to satisfy them or balance things out to a satisfational point, it's always going to be met with some kind of criticism. It is. No matter how you look at it. I mean, here's the thing. Being a fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, I've come out and I've said I'm one of the fans out there that like Sonic and Sally as a pairing. I don't have anything against Sonic and Amy if done right and placed in its own medium. I've even talked about this where if you look at certain couples, potential Sonic shipping couples, being focused on in certain portions of the franchise, then that's fine. It makes it easier on you. If Sonic Amy is being focused on in Sonic X and potentially hinted at and focused on in Sonic Boom, fine, leave it there. Leave it in those franchises. If you're sort of hinting at it in the games, fine, leave it there. That makes it easier for you. So I really don't have a problem with that if it's done in the right way. Just like I don't have a problem with Sonic and Sally being done in the right way, if you will, in Sat AM or in the comic books. I really don't have a problem with that. I really don't have a problem with that because, to me, since the days of Sat AM, the cartoon series, that's been the primary love interest for Sonic, and I have no problem with that with Sally. I really don't. And if done right in the comic, I have no problem, and neither does anybody else. But the point is, despite the fact that you could try to balance it out, I mean, I go back to issue 222 as sort of my looking at balancing out for the fact that Amy is willing to accept Sonic being with Sally because if it makes him happy, it makes her happy, and she still has the belief that someday Sonic and her will be together, she just doesn't know when, then that's fine. That's a balancing out, in my opinion. That satisfies everybody. But even with that, you have fans, but even with that, you have criticism by the fan base. You have a dissatisfaction by the fan base. Because even though you have a balancing out right there, there are still going to be fans saying like, oh, well, they just did that because they wimped her out. I mean, there were fans, I'm not going to lie about this, there were fans that were not happy with the fact that Amy was so willing to accept Sonic and Sally being together. They didn't like it. You had some fans even altering and redrawing the 222 cover to where it was not Sally Sonic was carrying as they were heading, as it was like running towards the reader on the cover of 222. Instead, it was Amy. And sometimes they even altered it to where Amy had this look like she was carrying Sonic, and she had this look like no one's touching Sonic. This is my Sonic. It shows you the dissatisfaction that even with a balancing out moment like that in issue 222, that nobody can be satisfied, and it's going to be met with stuff like that's going to be met with criticism. You look at the redesigns of the characters that are more game-like in a sense. And true, a lot of fans the casual fans were okay with it because, okay, you have to change up the characters, especially if the comic book is supposed to be based more on the games now than ever. But there was also fans that were not happy about it because of the fact, like, what is the point? Why do this? The reason to do it is, like I said, to the casual fans, to update them, to make them look like they came out of the game. But also from a corporate licensing standpoint, it was also to, as some fans pointed out, satisfy a corporation like Sega. Sega basically is licensing out the characters. So you want to do whatever it takes to make them happy, so you keep that license going, even after you deal with a whole bunch of behind the scenes BS. You want to do whatever it takes to keep the characters around, keep the people that are licensing them to you happy. So what do? You make them look like, you redesign them to make them look like a blending, or basically you make them look like a blending of what they were originally, but what they would look like if they came out of the game, especially today's Sonic games, if you will. So that was, again, even though the casual fan can understand that and nowadays accept it, there are still those that, even though this took place several years ago, that are still not happy about it. So again, you're not going to satisfy anybody, no matter what no matter what franchise you're no matter what kind of fan base you are, no matter what kind of no matter what kind of fan base belongs to what franchise, you're not going to satisfy anybody. And when you make decisions that can be a balancing between both sides, it's going to be met with criticism, because sometimes it won't be the fans of both, it won't be the fan base on both sides that criticize it. It's going to be the critics, and because of that criticization, they're going to divide that fan base in a sense. It's going to cause trouble. Things like that. Again, you're not going to always be able to satisfy each and every person, especially with the fact that you got to answer to corporate people in the end. You're not going to satisfy anybody, because if you try to satisfy everyone, it's going to be a disaster. So you got to have a balancing. It's like I said at the beginning, AJ Styles being presented the way he is sort of a balancing. It's like you're balancing him out to the point in WWE where even the casual fan will look up his background if they don't know much about him, see what he's done in Japan, TNA, Ring of Honor, and be like, yeah, I could probably accept this guy as a top guy in the WWE, as maybe the champion in the WWE. I can accept that. And of course, you're going to have the hardcore fan that's going to basically be like, well, he needs to be the champion. He needs to beat Roman Reigns and be the champion for so many years, for so long, that he's the one that breaks CM Punk's record, and he goes on to be the greatest WWE champion of all time. You can have, and again, you can have that balancing between the two, but you're always going to have that, like I said, that fan base that wants something like that. They're gonna be like, okay, we've heard Roman's gonna be the one that breaks CM Punk's record, but you know what? We'd rather have AJ Styles do it, and we want AJ Styles, after he breaks the record, to remain champion until the day he retires, because they want what they want. But when you give them a balancing like this, to where it makes it believable for both sides, at the fact that yes, he can be champion, he probably will be champion, but he may not break the record, and that's fine. Then to me, that works out good. That works out fine. Again, the point is, folks, even with something like that, it gets met with criticism. And some of the hardcore fans and all that of wrestling, they're going to want, like I said, AJ to be the one that breaks the record. There's no CM Punk's record. There's no doubt about it. But again, if you do a balancing out, then a balancing between both sides, then it's acceptable, in my opinion, because it allows even the casual viewers and fans to be like, let me look up information about this guy, or look up information about this character, or why this is happening. It works out. But even with all that said, you're going to get met with criticism, whether it's from the critics themselves that don't understand why this balancing out is happening between both sides, or it's happening in the fan base, if you will, or don't even acknowledge it, wondering why a company like Warner Brothers in the Cartoon Network division, or, Hasbro Studios and DHX, why they would even attempt to acknowledge or even reference certain things that they feel don't belong in a product like a Steven Universe or My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Why, and even with Disney, they're going to get criticized if they try to maybe go in a direction to do what fans are petitioning and hashtagging, and that's give Elsa a girlfriend. I mean, like I said, go back to the whole Frozen being released when it was several years ago. Everybody implied that there was an incense angle being subtly thrown in there by Disney, and all that did was allow Frozen to get more popular at the box office, but it allowed those that were curious as to what incense angle they were talking about to want to go see the movie, in theaters to see if they would notice it, and then come back out and say, yeah, it was a great movie, good. I can see why people like it, but I didn't see no incense angle. I don't know what people are talking about. So, you had that kind of thing going on. And true, when you subtly, if not throw it in, at the last moment as sort of a surprise, unless viewers don't catch up on it right off the bat, like with a character like Mitch in Paranorman, then yeah, even if you throw it in there and some people don't catch on to it right off the bat, you're going to get criticism. Because even though you might be a certain way yourself and you want to make a character that same way, or at least one of the characters that same way in a movie or in an animated movie or series, and nobody catches on to it until the end of the series or the season for that series, or the end of the series period, or the end of that movie, then, and you throw it in there at the last moment, of course you're going to get criticized. You're going to get criticized. I mean, it goes back to the whole Steven Universe deal. They tried to cross that border. They tried to break down that barrier, but they got met with criticization. And again, this affects the fan base, because you do have that casual fan that will watch a show casually, or even watch a movie casually, or being invested in a product casually, but they'll also understand, yeah, that shouldn't really be put into this kind of a product right now, because this is meant for kids, or this is meant for family, blah, blah, blah. But then you're going to have that portion of the fan base that's like, well, it's, this is hinted at, that's hinted at, this couple's hinted at, these two have affection, they're hinted at, da-da-da. They should just come out and officially announce it. They should just come out and officially make it happen. They should dedicate an episode or whatever, da-da-da. And that's perfectly fine. Everybody's got a right to their opinions. But this is why the fan bases of any popular franchise, since the beginning of television, since the beginning of franchises, since the beginning of merchandising, what have you, has been divided. Maybe not as much as it is now, but it has been divided. And no matter what you look at, especially now, no matter what you say or do, especially nowadays, you cannot satisfy everybody. You can't. And even if you try to balance things out, like I said, to where you're satisfying that casual viewer, and that casual viewer is like, or fan is like, yeah, I can accept that. I can see that happening, da-da-da. But in the end, but at the same time, you're satisfying that hardcore, dedicated, devoted fan that's like, yes, you're finally addressing it. Yes, you're doing it. Or yes, you're putting them together finally. Da-da-da. You're breaking down that barrier. You're always going to be met with criticism, no matter what. And when you're met with criticism and you have something like the casual fan being like, yeah, I can understand why the critics are against that, and yeah, maybe it doesn't really belong, here in My Little Pony or Steven Universe or what have you. The reason being is because of the fact that even though we are, as much as I may not like to say it, because I'm a born-again Christian myself, and I know my mom would not like to say it, but we do acknowledge the fact, and even my family overall, and I'm sure any families out there will say this, even though we may not want to acknowledge it, we do know slowly but surely companies like Disney and Hasbro and Warner Brothers and all that are going to slowly get to that point to where there will not be any more criticism. There will not be any more, there won't be no more criticism, and that critics will be criticism, and that even when you do that balancing, people will be fine with it, and that's going to satisfy everybody. It'll be good. I mean, true, you still won't be able to satisfy all of the fan bases, all of the fan base of that one product or franchise, but still, it's going to get to a point to where even if you finally acknowledge, okay, let's make Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy an item in My Little Pony, it's going to get to a point that one day it will be accepted. But right now, and even with Disney, Disney someday is going to get to a point that, yes, they might go with a lesbian princess theme, if you will, for an animated film. And they do that, that's fine. And if they do that, then that's the decision. But it's going to be to a point but it's only going to happen one day if they are not criticized for what they're doing. Yeah, it's going to get to a point to where if they're not criticized for what they're doing anymore, or anybody's criticized for what they're trying to attempt, that's the only time they're going to be able to get away with it. But nowadays, though, as much as you try to balance things out and say, okay, this is going to satisfy both sides, and it does, and then it ends up doing that, you're still not going to get out of the woods without criticism. And even if you try to satisfy that hardcore fan base, that dedicated, devoted fan base, you're going to get criticism from the casual fan base, because they'll be like, well, why did you do that? Why is this? Why that? Why'd you go in this direction? And then when you just do it for the casual fans, and when you do it, make a decision to maybe even the casual fans will be like, yeah, I like that. That's cool. Well, and everything. And for the casual fans, to them, they may not notice a subtle hint of this and that. You're going to have that hardcore fan base going like, well, you hinted at it. You hinted at it. You kind of teased it. Why didn't you go in that direction? It's stuff like that, folks. And no matter how you look at it, you're not going to be able to satisfy anybody. You're not going to satisfy anybody. You're not going to satisfy any of the fan base of Steven Universe. You're not going to satisfy all of the fan base of My Little Pony, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise and its spin-offs. Nothing. You're not going to be able to satisfy anybody. Not even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan base. Because the point is, you could do whatever it takes. You can reference things. You can bring things back. You can introduce different interpretations of characters or story arcs and stuff like that, and it ain't going to work because fans will not accept it. They will not accept it because it's not what, and fans will be divided, or they'll be together on it unless there's a balancing between the two. It's fine, and there has been, believe me. So a lot of examples of that have happened throughout all of animated and live action series and movies. But the point is, even if you try to put out a proper balance between both, within the fan base, you're still going to have a little bit of a divide because of the fact that there might be one nitpick, there might be one criticism. So overall, and I know this has gone for way too long, and I do apologize. The point is, you can balance things out to the point that the casual fan can accept and understand, and maybe even look up information as to who the individual is or why this is happening, But at the same time, by balancing out, you're also giving the hardcore devoted fan, the dedicated fan, what they've been wanting for a while. And at the same time, you're getting that casual fan to look into, why this happened or who this person is and this and that. But at the same time, you're also going to always still have that division, that divide between the two, because of the fact that even though it'll be a good balancing out, you're still going to have criticism by some fans on both sides, criticism from critics themselves, and it's just still going to continue being a jumbled mess. So But that's all I'm going to say on this. I do apologize for it being long. I just had to get all of this off my chest. Because you know what? It's just obvious. Unless there is a true agreement on all sides, a true balancing out on all sides, and the critics are more accepting of things, even if we as people may or may not agree with decisions that might be made and directions they may go in, the fact of the matter is we're not going to have any kind of balancing, any true balancing or exception, or any true balancing and non-critiquing, if you will, for quite some time. And when it comes to people wanting to see same-sex couples together in things like Friendship is Magic, a same-sex couple with Elsa and a lesbian girlfriend for her in Frozen 2, we're going to get there, but right now we're still at a point that you could try it, you could subtly hint at it, and it's going to draw criticism that's going to divide that fan base even more. So that's all I'm going to say on it, folks. Let me know down below what you think. I do